Hello there and welcome to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley. My name is Draxter Dupre and today is the premiere of the Drax Files Radio Hour Sansar edition where we, every couple of Fridays, every other Friday, we stream from Sansar, Linden Labs' new immersive, next generation immersive virtual world, whatever the nomenclature is. We stream a live one-on-one interview from there and then an edited version comes on the Sunday podcast. Sometimes Joe will be with us. Sometimes Joe won't be like today, but fear not, she'll be back next week. Today's show is about Shyla the Super Gecko. I interviewed Shyla, who is a disability activist, a poet, a writer, a former storm chaser, prominent resident of Second Life, and part of the Our Digital Selves documentary. I interviewed her about inclusion, about accessibility, about poetry, about what platform providers can do for people with various visible and invisible disabilities. Fascinating discussion, and we're going to go right to it. I just wanted to welcome a new sponsor today and also read all the individual, as we call them, the voluntary subscribers of this podcast, because you make this show happen and it's just awesome and we're super thankful. It wouldn't work without you. So the new business sponsor that we have is Vinyl Apparel. Vinyl Apparel, okay, that's top quality mesh clothing for Second Lifers if they are female. I don't know. Why do we get these sponsors? Why can't we get like a male clothing sponsor for once? Jesus Christ. No, vinyl is really awesome and all my female alts are completely decked out in vinyl. So please check it out. And also, since I'm, talking about Second Life, and some listeners may think, oh, Drax again, Sansar, now it's going to be like the Sansar Radio Hour. No, it's not going to be. I said that we will hop between different worlds. This new year, we're going to go to all the worlds. We're going to go to space next. We're going to talk to Hamlet Wagner James Au. Some call him my nemesis. Over in space, we're going to go to high fidelity, but we're going to remain rooted in Second Life. Okay, there is absolutely no question about it. And as a matter of fact, as soon as I have this intro recorded, I'm going to head to Second Life and meet with Marianne McCann and inspect 6 sets that we're going to be filming next week. 6 custom-built sets for the feature documentary Our Digital Selves, it now clocks in the rough cut at 130 minutes, and I want it to just be 50 minutes, and it's 130 right now. So I'm going to cut back. That film is going to come out in April. So let's go to Shyla, but first let's read, where is my website? So I want to thank the individual subscribers here. Elke Wiley, who has been a voluntary subscriber for a long time, and thank you so much for your contribution. Job Forder says, keep up the good works. I appreciate it because it's a lot of works. Mile Freshy. Oh my God, I forgot to mention Mile Freshy, or Fresky rather. Mile Fresky from the Four Bridges Project. She's also a full subscriber, and you can click on the banner on the right side of the blog and go to her fantastic work. So Mile Fresky, thank you so much. Ariel Enoch, thank you so much. Does she have any notes for me? Like I'm the best looking avatar on the grid. Oops, I cannot scroll back further to December. Why not? Jesus Christ. See, there you go. That's what you get for not having a premium account on the Drax Files avatar. All right, I'm going to accumulate the data of all the other sponsors. And again, a voluntary subscription is $100 Linden per month, okay? $100 Linden per month you can afford, and you contribute, and it's a token of appreciation for what Joe and I do here. Getting important guests that have something to say, guests from the community, people like you and I, and then some really high-profile names, and so on and so forth. So let's go to Shyla the Super Gecko. I'm going to play a slightly edited version of the interview. Shyla starts with describing her everyday physical life. On the blog, you will also find a few work-in-progress clips. I visited her in Chicagoland and interviewed her, and you see her in this huge chair that she has to lie in due to her disability and her pain. And here she describes it. If you want to watch the interview in Sansa where she appears as the Gecko, she is a Gecko in Second Life, and her Gecko was remade in Sansa by a wonderful artist by the name of Theanine. I watched the video. It's a really cool Gecko, and she also will be talking about why the Gecko is so significant for her. Here's Shyla.
I sit in a chair, and the chair is a behemoth welded together so I can lie flat on my back, have my feet a little bit in the air for circulation. Then there's this rod that comes up the right, crosses over so that I can have a laptop in front of me. And so when I put my hand straight out, this is as far as I can go without hitting my laptop. You know, so when I get real excited in Sansar and I'm playing a game or something, man, I hit my laptop falls.
The screen cracks.
The screen cracks, or at least we worry about it. And also, I find the headsets, which I don't think it's just me, I think anyone wearing these headsets, they don't feel sturdy. They don't feel like they're going to stay.
You're afraid that they actually slip off.
Yeah, but it doesn't. But it feels like that.
Now,
and also with me facing up, because I'm facing up with my headset, I can't see you. If I turn to look at you, my Gecko's head looks odd.
That's right.
So I kind of just look at the ceiling.
In order to look at me, in order to look at my avatar, you would have to actually raise your head, correct?
Yes.
From the chair, because now your head is comfortably situated on the chair that supports your body, which is in pain. And so in order for your head, that's why your Gecko is looking up towards the ceiling. In order for you to look at me, you would have to actually lift your head, and that's why your arms are up as well.
Yeah, my arms are up. I can put them. Well, I can't put them much anywhere. I've got things around there, but yeah, I mean, I'd have to hang them down like this, I guess. And I don't know.
Yeah.
They're very uncomfortable.
Can you wave?
Yeah, I can wave.
But that means that you have to hold your arm up like everybody else.
Yeah, like everybody else. Everybody holds their arm up when they wave.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know anything about disabled people. They're such a weird species. Tell me more.
Kind of like geckos, right? We're such a weird species. Well, I mean, first off, to me, most of the people I know in Second Life are disabled in one form or another, because there's all kinds of disabilities. There's developmental, there's sensory, there's physical, there's all kinds, a lot of invisible disabilities, and then there's more visual ones. Like I wear some braces, so if I'm in shorts, people can see, and I use a cane so people can see that. But there's a lot of people with invisible disabilities, and I think ableism, let's just start there, right?
Let's start there. By the way, I want you to talk broader, because you just said Second Life. We're not in Second Life.
We're in Sansar.
That's right. That doesn't devalue, but because your theory based on observation, I would call it a hypothesis, that I think you said more than 70% in Second Life you feel have some sort of a disability. And I would stipulate, and then I'll shut up and let you talk, is that that's a part of the population which I feel would be really served by virtual reality if it's done right for them. So
yeah, everything just went go. Yeah, I think so too. But what we're dealing with right now, primarily in all the virtual worlds, we're not picking on anyone in particular, is people with disabilities are reliant on creators to consider disability. And if a creator doesn't have a particular disability, you can even have a disability. This is true for me. I have a physical disability, but I had to be educated by people with sensory disabilities and people with developmental disabilities or people who work with them, so that I could learn and understand. It isn't intuitive. What's intuitive is how we live day to day. But how someone else lives, getting out of ourselves and listening to how someone else lives is different. But if you do it, it becomes amazing. And yes, it takes me a long time to build anything because I'm trying to be inclusive in my build. But what fun it is when someone comes and says, oh my gosh, I can really enjoy this.
So specifically, you mean, for example, when you build something in Second Life or any other virtual world that may be an issue for people with sensory issues, like people with, I don't know, epilepsy maybe get really can't deal with an overload of colors that you were to build in your poetry build, for example. Is that what you mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's particle effects. I mean, one of the nice things, and let's remember, Sansar's in beta. Right, Sansar's in beta. But one of the things I like about SL is that it has various viewers. And I don't know that that's going to be possible in Sansar. I mean, you can go into that environment with a text viewer. And then if the builder has named objects, even though you can't see them, you can get a very good feel for what you're walking through. If a person has added non-HUD, right, actually note cards, something that a system can read, I don't even know if that's possible here in Sansar. I mean, I understand why people don't chat in Sansar. I'm sitting in the 3D world right now trying to figure out where or what I would click to chat. Yeah, where to put my arms. How do I chat? How do I click these things down here without accidentally exiting?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I understand, and not only for people with disabilities is it an issue, the integration of these different forms of communication.
Can't even sit. Nobody can sit in Sansar yet. I mean, it'll all come. That will come. But I think what was sad to me about Sansar is I think the disability community wanted to be at the table discussing how to make Sansar accessible out of the chute, how to talk to creators. How many creators have I spoken to in Second Life who said, oh my gosh, I wish blind people could play my game, but I'd have had to design the script from the beginning with them in mind, and I didn't. It wouldn't have been hard.
Now, what
if I had known?
Let's talk broadly, because I think, and you told me this in previous conversations, what would you recommend? And let's talk broadly about Silicon Valley platform makers. What should they do? Because what you're talking about here in Sansar, I think, is an issue that can be broadly applied to a lot of, not only tech companies per se, but even broader. But let's speak about tech companies. What could they do to bring people on the table? Are you suggesting some sort of consultant from the early design stages?
Yeah, and I don't think, look, I do think we should ask for consultants. I don't think that we should have specialist speakers. I think people should apply for the job, and their job should be whatever. First off, I would like to see them with disability. I mean, it's just like in TV. Why do I watch able-bodied people playing disabled people, thinking they can embody disabled people?
Very good point. Yeah.
And so we've got able-bodied people, and why can't we, with the technology we have today, allow a disabled person to be at a table through a computer screen or in person, depending on their capabilities, so that they can talk about it? But with the job, I mean, I really think disability advocate should be a position in almost every technology company. Every technology company should have a disability hotline where they have call center with people trained on the kind of equipment disabled people might be using on their computer, like Dragon, like JAWS, like all of them. I'm not going to name all of them. Because when I talk to, and even sometimes when I talk to a disability line, but when you look at Microsoft, Microsoft has a chief accessibility officer. And this makes sense. And it is still hard for them to accommodate our community. And for me to call...
Because it's so diverse too, as you said. I mean...
It is so diverse. So to think that for an able-bodied person to think that they can address disability community issues, I find that as a person who was once able-bodied, I don't see it today as feasible as a person who has a disability and has already had to kind of deal with ableism, has had to kind of deal with challenges, accessibility challenges, so that when they listen to another person with a disability that might be different from their own, they can say, oh, yes, I can see where that could be a serious issue. And then they become, every company should have a disability advocate. And it doesn't mean that all our needs, I mean, we as people with disabilities have to be flexible as well, because we are broad. We're not all going to be accommodated perfectly. The question is, are we going to be accommodated enough to be able to participate with Sansar in the experience? Can I enjoy the experience? Can I immerse in it?
Shyla, real quick, we have a lot of really cool comments and questions coming in. You're in VR, awesome. You can't see them, and I'm going to bring them up, and then you can comment. But before I do that, can you define ableism? How do you define it? What does that mean for you when you talk about an ableist society?
In the simplest form, ableism is the belief that able-bodied, abled development, abled sensory systems, abled emotional systems, which I don't know anyone who has those perfectly.
I thought I did. I thought I'm so even-keeled. It's like, you can have a room that is... If you go to Home Depot...
And you have been in my house. I know the truth, people. Drax has been in my house. But it's basically the idea that able-bodied is superior, and I'm going to put this broadly, in all ways. Once somebody has something that people see as a disability, let's put them to the side. And because we have to take care of them.
In every circumstance, or are you talking about specific things like work or on the subway? Because aren't people super nice on the subway at least?
I don't know. I don't ride the subway. I don't know. We'll have to ask somebody from New York or Chicago subway.
No, the reason I said that is this sometimes can be very comforting for somebody. You know what? I'm so good to all these poor disabled people because I just gave up my seat on the subway. Can you believe it? And then the next day they, they fire someone because I don't know.
Well, it's pretty hard. I mean, if a disabled person could get a job, it's a little bit more difficult to fire them. It's getting the job in the first place. It's getting through the interview process in the first place. And I think, what we're missing out on is the incredible creative, intellectual capacity. I was just the other day, somebody posted to Virtual Abilities chat a link to a car wash where they had autistic young people.
Right, they hired
young
people
adults
with autism for this particular car wash.
And what they found out is there's a lot of things they do far better than able-bodied people do. And as a disabled person, I'm sitting here going, duh. Like, this is of course true. I have lost a certain ability. I can no longer do all the adrenaline things I used to do, all the physical things I used to do. Guess what I do more of, Drax?
What?
I think. I'm more creative. I do more creative stuff. I lose one capacity, I increase another.
Shyla, real quick before, and we want to talk also about policy and about the problem with employment, because we talked a lot about for the documentary. Let me reintroduce you. You're Shyla, the super gecko. Loki Elliott from Second Life was IMing me earlier. Wow, Shyla doesn't look like the humanoid avatars in Sans that we come to know in Sansar. And he asked me why, and I said, well, because you're a super gecko. That's why.
Because I'm a super gecko.
That's right.
I eat gummy flies, and I... Did you know licorice is just kind of rubberized flies?
Oh, God, please. I love licorice, and now I gotta go throw up. That's not fair. I love licorice. Oh, God.
Hey, don't knock flies till you try them.
I know. Maybe that's just a cultural bias. Your avatar was made by Theonine, who is a wonderful 3D
Oh, my
artist.
gosh, amazing.
And you can actually get that avatar on the Sansar Marketplace if you want. You can't get your version. Your version is completely unique. That will not be sold ever. Now, let me go through a few of these comments here, and especially with Avatar. Jesus is asking here, if Shyla has friends who are also disabled, how do they feel about having the option of adding a handicap gear to their avatars, such as prosthetics and wheelchairs? Why do they choose to wear it, and why not? What do you think that has to do with identity and how they feel about themselves?
I think everyone's unique. When I first came, I wore my braces when I first came to Second Life, because Sansar wasn't here. And I wore my braces because that's how I appeared. I also sometimes wear them because it creates a wall. It's a natural barrier. That is one of the advantages of ableism, is it's real easy for me to tell those who are really working on not being ableistic as seeing me as a whole being in every right, is if I wear all my braces and I still get along with them, that's an amazing person. I think, we're talking about
But is
this
that
film.
Is that not a good? I mean, can't you just? I was just thinking, like, you could weed out people that you don't want to have relationships with anyway, by just like.
Well, except that I think sometimes you end up weeding out like 90%, and I don't think able-bodied people believe this, but it's true. We are taught how to treat differently abled people from childhood. Even if we're differently abled in childhood, we are constantly trying to achieve this image we have of whatever perfect is, and visual disability doesn't fit into it. And it's even worse for people with invisible disabilities, because nobody understands what's going on with them. They don't experience what they're experiencing, and therefore they deny that the experience is true. They invalidate their experience. What a wonderful world if we could all go up to each other and validate. If you said to me, gee, sometimes I'm really blue, instead of having somebody say, oh, Drax, get your chin up. Somebody just put their hugs around you and said, oh, well, thank you for sharing that with me. Thank you for your honesty.
Yeah, but
I appreciate you for you.
But Shyla, the economy would crash if we all don't chin up and pull ourselves up by our boots. That was, of course, sarcasm. I'm sorry about that.
No, but it's true. For disabled people, the economy crashes all the time.
Yep.
That's a part of disability.
And that's and I'm not going to forget talking about that too a little bit later. Let me get a few other comments in. Tawny Daniels here on the YouTube stream says, I met someone who is deaf, so audio is an issue for her when going to live events, talking about virtual worlds. And of course, Ice Sky Silverweb is on the chat here as well, and she cannot hear. She can speak, but she cannot hear. Jaden Firehawk says, I learned the importance of including a soundscape in the places that I make from working in tandem with a blind user on the build in SL that she wanted to have. So this is a wonderful way, what you addressed earlier about building things and thinking about having this build, the art or whatever you're building, accessible in the virtual world. Daisy says there needs to be law, regulation, compulsion from government to make it competitive for small firms to consider disability access from the outset. And Cody, hello, Cody is also in the chat.
Hey, Cody.
Cody's the man, and I locked down the set so that Cody can't find us. It's not listed in the app. People are asking, where are we? We're in the basement, but the door is locked this time. Cody says you're saying the right things. And let me just say, Shyla, Cody said in the new teaser of the documentary that we're working on called Our Digital Selves, where you are in, and Cody says at the very end, where Philip Rosedale, co-founder of Second Life, now founder of High Fidelity, asked him, Cody, what would be your ideal avatar? For context, Cody has cerebral palsy. He drowned as a baby, almost died when he was 1 year old. Cody's a wonderful person, very intelligent, but people think he is mentally challenged because of his lack of ability to speak clearly. So you can understand him when you listen to him long enough. And it's wonderful, actually, when you get into the groove of understanding him. But Philip Rosedale asked him, what would your ideal avatar be? And Cody sits there in his wheelchair, and he says, me, because I'm really cool with myself.
Exactly. I mean, it's again... Ableism assumes that a brace is a bad thing. Ableism assumes a wheelchair is a bad thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
And, I love, there's a song that Fred Small sings called The Wheelchair Blues. Mm-hmm. And it's about him being able-bodied, and he comes up in a woman in a wheelchair, and he has to race her. Mm-hmm. And he sings about how going uphill he did okay, but going downhill he lost big time. I mean, we see this in oh my gosh, you know how I lose words sometimes? I lost one now. The Paralympics. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
we see this in the Paralympics. We see amazing things that prosthetics can do that move us beyond what the body can do. Mm-hmm. There's a wonderful TED Talk, too, by a woman who has a prosthetic leg, and she puts her legs out before the talk. And she used to talk at schools, and parents would tell their kids, they'd have to sign a permission slip, and they would tell the kids, look, don't touch anything. And so she finally told teachers, she said, look, you can't tell the parents I'm coming. You can't tell the kids anything about me before I come. So the first time she does this, guess what the kids do? The kids think she's a superhero. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, could you have legs that take you all the way to the moon?
That's the framing part. It's how you frame it. But
yes.
But here's one thing where I'm curious as an able-bodied person. And by the way, if you're just tuning into YouTube, if you're watching this on Twitch or on Periscope, and you don't understand why this wonderful Gecko here has her arms up all the time. Yeah, she's waving here. Shyla is in the physical world at the moment constrained to a chair that relieves her pain. She lies in this chair that weighs, 800 pounds or something, or what is it?
At least it's a behemoth.
It's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable work of ingenuity and engineering. and you're lying in this chair in front of you. You have a platform where there's your laptop. We figured out with your caregiver how to pop in the Vive. You figured out a lot of sound issues. We made it. We're here together, but it was a pain, and it is a pain. There is discomfort that you already have, and I'm so grateful that you're on the show and really accepting this additional discomfort that the headset gives you. But I'm just saying your arms are up because that's where your hands are holding the Vive, and your head is looking. You're looking.
Yeah, I'm not under arrest.
Yeah, I'm constantly like, I'm not pointing a gun at you at this point. And your head is looking. Your avatar's head is looking at the ceiling because your head in the physical world lies on the chair. Real quick, a couple more comments here, and people in the chat also. Put in your 2 cents about what platform providers such as Linden Lab, in the case of Sansar, should do. Shyla threw this out. I think to me it's a no-brainer that people have platform providers have an accessibility officer like Microsoft has. Stranger Nightfire here in the chat says, I know there is one business that hires almost exclusively autistic employees, not out of charity, but because they have found them to be their best employees. And I think that was the car wash.
Exactly.
If somebody has a link, they can put it in the chat.
I wouldn't be surprised though, Drax, that there are other employers who have figured this out.
Yeah.
Right. The reason is, why aren't more employers figuring this out? We know this about animals. We know animals adapt amazingly. So when somebody has a disability in one area of their life, I'm telling you, they've got a benefit in some other area. I believe this in many cases. I believe we've got a lot of creative, wonderful people that don't have channels open to them.
And they're being sort of discarded.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this to everybody, because this is a scary time for people with disabilities. So to people with disabilities, to people who belong to minority groups in my country, which is the United States of America, let's ride this out. Let's keep speaking, sharing our voice, reminding people. But when I think about bringing America back, it's not this America. This is America I don't need. I want to bring the real America back, of compassionate Americans. When we saw 9/11 and the people went into the rubble, that's America. People helping each other, no matter how traumatic or large the incident.
Yeah.
That's America. And I think we forget, what happens is after these major things go away, we forget, but we are a compassionate people.
I haven't forgotten it. And let me tell you, me as an immigrant to America, in some ways, sometimes I think I'm even more depressed. I shouldn't say that, but I feel I saw, growing up, I saw America as this shining light. And when I came in, I told my new friends all this stuff, and they were already completely disenchanted because they saw the reality. And I came in as this sort of total naive immigrant. And in many ways, I'm more depressed than my American wife about where the train is headed. But let's go to this.
I don't know. I don't know how far the train's going to go, but I know I have a deep faith.
Me too.
And in the American heart.
And I tell this to all my German friends. This energy of the American. How did we get there? But of course,
well, let me just say this. I'm going to say that my hand just went away.
Yeah.
But we do need to say this, because even though I'm saying that doesn't mean sit down, relax, and let it just come about in its natural force. Mm-hmm. I'm saying keep your voices heard. Mm-hmm. Don't disintegrate into the background. Keep our voices heard, but let's keep a level head too. Mm-hmm. We don't need to come down to their level.
I need to read a little bit from the chat. Cody said, I was misquoting him. Cody said in that clip with Philip Rosedale that's on the trailer now on my channel, he did not say I'm good with myself, or he said I'm really full of myself. Oh my God!
You need to change the captions on that.
Yeah, I need to change the captions. That's right. But it was funny because you're right. Because Philip, at that moment when Cody answered the question, what is your ideal avatar, and Cody said it's me. That, Philip, as open-minded, I see him as, or I've come to know him as, I think that was surprising to him, like you were saying, because that's an able-bodied response, right? If you say to someone who is disabled, visibly disabled, you say, who do you want to be? Like, you expect them to say, I want to be like Brad Pitt or something, or bench pressing, I don't know how much. And they say, no, I'm actually at peace with myself. Fascinating.
Yeah.
I want to say...
That's a journey, too. We could spend 5 hours talking about, coming to be at peace with yourself in in an ableist society.
And for you, that might have been arguably harder, because the difference is, of course, that acquiring a severe disability throughout your lifetime, where you have to come to peace with not being able to do all these things that you once did, versus being disabled from birth, where this is just who you are, and it may be easier. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not going to make that assumption. My belief is everyone has their own story, and their story is valid.
Jesus said, on a broader topic, what do you think about people who decide to make their avatars look like them versus something that looks completely different? Oh, we got to talk about that, because why did you choose the Gecko? How does that relate to that? And LaPython Liberty says, if they were in high fidelity, they could say, come see me in person. I don't know what that means. 1 second, and I want you to talk about the Gecko. Ice Guy says, our appearances, and Ice Guy can't hear us. Unfortunately, it would be really cool if we had an auto-translate into text right now. That would be awesome in real time. I think somebody's got to script that as soon as they can. Ice Guy says in the chat, our appearances are expressions of self. I may show as a tall blonde one time, a little kitty another, a petite mermaid another. All depends what I want to express about myself. Shyla, when you first came in,
I went around.
Yeah,
I went around as a sack of potatoes on days that I was depressed. I was just, stay away from me. I've gone around as a tumbleweed. I've gone around as robots or as raptors.
And little
I think little emoticons. Yeah, I think the Gecko was friendly, and I think I needed something that I could look at and feel like it fit me. And the Gecko does. And I will tell you, people love the Gecko. Even when I'm booted out of a sim, the sims that are supposed to be real life sims.
Right.
So the Gecko comes in and starts reading poetry, and you can't have a Gecko read poetry because geckos don't speak. But people are so nice when they boot me out of a sim, and then I'm like, I'm saying, with my pain, I sometimes forget I might accidentally show up again. You might want to ban me, and they're like, no, we'd never ban you. So, and this is exactly why I love the Gecko. The Gecko is a friendly, kind of harmless, and what it allows for too is a connection. When I say 70% of the people I meet, and probably more than that, are in virtual worlds are disabled, these are private conversations where people have revealed something to me that they probably don't reveal to everyone in the virtual world.
Why do you think, though, they revealed that to you?
Because that Gecko looks pretty trustworthy and kind. And because I reveal it first, but then I think too, the Gecko if I went around as a Satan, I don't know that I would hear so much about it. And
that's a good point. Sometimes Cody dresses up as Santa Claus, who gives a Hitler salute. I think that also may not inspire a lot of confidence. I know he does it for good fun. Shyla, do you still change the gecko in Second Life when you have different moods?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in a human form a bit now, which people are finding very interesting because I've been in the gecko for a long time. Sometimes when I build, I will take a human form to try to size things properly. I tend to be a small human. I believe in this idea that we overbuild. We build things too large, and it's not particularly realistic. And then, of course, when I build, I'm also building ramps and stuff, so I want to make sure that both humans and non-humans and tinies and everybody can fit maybe in the chair that I put under the ramp, or can walk up the ramp, or don't walk over the bar to keep people on the ramp, all these things. So I do change out of the avatar, but I will say this, more and more, I'm either human because I'm in a relationship or exploring a relationship with somebody, or I'm the gecko.
Shyla, we're nearing a time where, unfortunately, I don't know if Linden Lab is going to cut us off because they have maintenance and they're pushing down a new update in 8 minutes. It may be that we're going to just crash, and I want you to read some of your poetry.
Let me go into a 2D mode.
Shyla's going to go into desktop mode. Take your time. Let me just read a few chat things while you're doing the switchover. Shyla, again, is Shyla the Super Gecko, poet, disability activist, writer, comedian, and Theonine made this wonderful avatar. You can get it on the Sansar Marketplace right now. Go to Theonine's store and grab the gecko. Not this one, is a variation of this one, because this one only belongs to Shyla. I also wanted to say, if you're just tuning into YouTube, Twitch, or Periscope, Shyla is, it's really, I'm so grateful that Shyla went through all this trouble putting the Vive on and going into VR. She is in tremendous pain that she cannot control. She has some pain medication, but it's quite severe. I visited her and filmed with her for 3 days for the upcoming Our Digital Selves documentary, and I witnessed that how the pain is just impacting and can deride any plan that you have. And that is a humbling experience where you realize that when you're able-bodied, the privilege of an able-bodied person. LaPython here says in the chat, just a few chat comments, he says, makes no difference if you spent the time. We will come to know you for who you really are. He's talking about identity in virtual worlds, regardless of how you dress, talk, walk, roll, or act. And Stranger Nightfire says, I'm a big-time shapeshifter as well. You are no matter the form you choose, says iSky. And Cody says, Trump sucks. That's it in a nutshell. And iSky wants to keep the T word out of the chat. I agree. Jaden says, I'm very grateful that Sansar has a desktop mode because head-mounted displays are 100% visually confining, and that greatly aggravates the hypervigilance symptoms that she gets due to her PTSD. Now, I hope that Jaden will join me in a future show. We're going to do this talk show on a bi-weekly basis. We're going to have varying guests from all sorts of fields, some very high-profile people, and some people who are just like you and me, but are maybe even more qualified to say really deep things. So it's going to be deep thinker. If some celebrity deep thinkers and some just regular non-celebrity deep thinkers. But that's a great comment, Jaden. The desktop mode in Sansar that she enjoys. Let's see here. Jesus says, lol, Satan, can I talk to you about my clinical depression? So he's making a case for Satan here. Maybe Satan may have a soft side.
Maybe so. See.
So how are you doing, Shyla? Now that
I'm ready to go.
But you endured the Vive. How does that?
Yeah.
Does that set you back now? pain-wise, do you need to recover from this, or how would you put this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there'll be a recovery period for me. I think also, there's something in this film that you're doing that is said that it's so true. And that is when a disabled person shows them the real self, which is not what I'm doing today. What I'm doing today is showing my radio self. Right? That's what I'm doing today. Trying not to do heavy breathing, trying not to have the shakes, so that I can build this rapport. And maybe one day we'll be done with ableism and we won't have to live that way.
So, in other words, you're saying you have to put on this show, and I think Varahi says this in the film. She says when a disabled person seems normal to an able-bodied person, you gotta thank them for giving you a gift, because they are giving you a gift. And I think that for able-bodied folks is something to really, really reflect upon. It's that sums it up in a nutshell. Well, I am really thankful, Shyla, that you went through this ordeal and came on this show and talked about your passion about virtual worlds and the plea for platform providers to really think about this huge constituency that they have, a huge potential. I mean, not an existing user base in the case of Second Life. Yeah, go ahead.
Am I going to read one?
Yeah, I'm sorry. You're good. You're good at shutting me up. Shut me up, Shyla. Here's Shyla. What are you going to read for us?
I'm going to read Land of the Free, which is not too long.
Okay.
So I'll read that instead of the one with all the bad words. I live in the land of the free, who are not, never were, may never be, who spew pride from on high, stand proud, letting their own die, who war all about the world and within their own soil, finding catchphrases to explain hatred and turmoil. Guns don't kill, bombs don't miss. We send them around the world in the name of capitalism and providence, profits more valiant than morals. Yet, you know what? I'm on the wrong poem. Let's just scratch all of that.
Sounded
I'm
good.
gonna read.
Let's
I'm gonna
start
read.
over.
That sounded good. I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read the dirty ones.
Please do. We're not gonna. I'm not gonna censor you.
Okay, great. I always thought. Well, this is called the new offensive. I always thought fuck, dyke, hike, and cunt, all things I do or am, were offensive words. And today I learned transgender is offensive. My friend, a transgender, shit, there is no synonym for it. Since when did her identity become offensive? Today I learned vulnerable is offensive. Equitable to susceptible, weak, defenseless. Only the first of which fit me, but it will do. Since when did ableism make me offensive? Today I learn entitlement is offensive. We do have constitutional rights, a Bill of Rights, amended rights, legal rights. Since when did living become offensive? Today I learned diversity is offensive, as if the playing field is equal opportunity a misnomer of reality. Since when did fair play become offensive? Today I learned fetus is offensive. Fetus? Unborn human babies. I pour water on my face, shake my head. Since when did procreation become offensive? Today I learn evidence-based, fact-based is offensive. This, I understand. Science offensive to any who fears change, growth, acceptance. Science has always offended the ignorant. It must be an ignorant man claiming these things offensive. No leader for sure could be so naive. What? Really? My president named these? Many claim it places politics before humanity. An understatement to me. The disabled lesbian, the lost Jew, fighting transgenderism, homophobia, racism, elitism, ableism, theological intrusion, segregationists. It's not politics, for Christ's sake. It's not religion, for Christ's sake. It's exclusionist, racist filth. Since when did this not become offensive? That's the new offensive.
Shyla, this is amazing. Please read us another one. Where do you you put that you have a wonderful build in Second Life where you put your poetry up there on panels, and you make a building, and you can actually walk around on the building while reading it.
Yeah, it's at Ethnographia Island.
So if anybody
and it's open to the public.
Go to Ethnographia. I'm going to type it in the chat. Tawny says, thanks, Shyla. Daisy says, good, Shyla. Oh, yeah, Stranger says, so is it... I'm really floored by this poem because I struggle sometimes with making people. Some people want to normalize the situation. I mean, a lot of people. And
it's not normal.
And what
but we're going to get back.
Right, your poem to me says that if we are complicit in normalizing this situation, I'm talking about the situation in the United States specifically, we are complicit in backing this madness if we're brushing it off and normalizing it.
Yes, and our voices matter. Mm-hmm. Our voices matter. I wrote one for the Women's March.
You want to read it?
Let me see if I can. Yeah, let me see if I can find it.
Now, Python types in the chat. He says, "Making normal great again."
Making normal great again.
So,
here it goes. This is the Women March. Without me, the signs you hold, the steps so bold. Though I can't march with you, I send gratitude for the chance you do. For I'm a woman too. I'm afraid enough to know, as we, by necessity done. Nevertheless, I'm not the one, homebound, deprived of clouds and sun. Still, I listen to the women. I grasp the inconceivable tweet. Use my phone as my feet. Write my words as my heartbeat. I'm a woman too, though I may never be seen. I'm with you, women. In spirit, united and keen. I won't be counted as you walk. I won't be heard as you talk. I won't be present on the block, but my words are my trade and stock. Thank you, women. I thank you ever so kindly for speaking my truth so finely, including me divinely. I just wanted you to know. And that's the Women March without me.
That is awesome, Shyla. Are you writing more now that you are limited in your physical interaction?
Yes. Mm-hmm. No doubt about it. I mean, this is this offset, I think.
Because you always wrote, I mean, we got to also put this in context. You were with a comedy group, you wrote skits and all sorts of things.
Yes.
And so now,
yeah, I did.
How has this changed? It's more, and I would suspect it's a little bit different because it reflects that new phase in your life.
Well, and I can say this too. When, I do readings in Second Life and I read for a half hour, an hour, if somebody asks, I'm exhausted for days. Mm-hmm. And my life before, when I was able-bodied, I got up, I went to an 8-hour job, drove a commute into the city, stayed there until midnight, sometimes later, got up at 5 a.m. and did it all again. Mm-hmm. And would catch up on sleep on the weekend. I can't do that anymore. I often tell people I can do discipline. I can keep hanging away at something, but regimen is hard. Being here for you at a specific time, I worked my whole week around that, Drax. Mm-hmm. Because that is regimen.
This is something that people really need to understand. And again, I mean, we're going a little bit over time, and maybe we'll crash. And you got to tell me if you're completely exhausted. I would go another 10 minutes. Then we got the hour full. People are really enjoying it on the stream. But what you said now is so important that basically for something like this, where I got to appear on this radio show in a virtual world, and I know all this stuff is the cables and the Vive and all this extra stuff. that for you, that is a week worth of preparation and exhaustion afterwards. And that's what we as able-bodied people need to really, really see much clearer. But how can we? How can this relationship between me and you as the stand-ins for these different constituents, how can we communicate better? And then please take it also to the employment situation, because I'm going to say this just playing devil's advocate. It says like I would like to employ you, but if I don't know if you're showing up on Friday at 5, then I don't know. What am I going to do?
But here I am. I can show up for this hour for you. But the thing is, and what you know about me, Drax, is I managed to get what needed to be done. Mm-hmm. And then I got to rest, and then I got to have my time. Mm-hmm. And so I can't work an 8 to 5. Mm-hmm. And our work environment is so structured that it loses all this creative potential. The other thing our work environments have become is all about numbers, which is why we lose some of the quality.
Yep.
I'm counting how many phone calls I make, not how many people are happy at the end of them.
I saw this little reportage about Amazon. Actually, I saw one in the U.S., but also one here in Germany, about the distribution centers. It is utterly depressing. It's modern slavery. It's like Charlie Chaplin, modern times all over again, 100 years later. Whatever.
Well, and I'll tell you how we change this. Mm-hmm. And people are going to think this sounds wild, but I think it's possible. Bhutan measures things on the GNH, not the GNP. Do you know what the GNH is?
I happen to know it, but tell me.
Gross national happiness. Mm-hmm. What if every country ran on how happy its citizens were? Mm-hmm. That would evoke change. Because as soon as you have a group that's unhappy, that's where your focus is.
I'm completely up for that, but I'm also kind of a lefty hippie. But I could even sell this to the conservatives or to people who say, well, the stock market, blah, blah, blah. You made a point earlier. You're happy to do something, and you're actually doing stuff also in Second Life a little bit, but it has to be on your schedule. And I think an employer could really accommodate people of various disabilities in a very easy way by just having a modus operandi where the hours are much more flexible as they are right now. And I would actually argue that even able-bodied people would benefit from that. And I'm not so sure if a business would go completely downhill if there were this type of flexibility built into it. It just requires...
Google didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, Google didn't. Google is amazing.
Well, let's not paint Google as
I'm not saying amazing, but as an example of freeing their employees to be creative. The early Google, not the now. Mm-hmm. Now things have changed there.
Yep.
But I met a woman who was a yogi at Google in the early days and retired at 32. Mm. She taught yoga classes there at Google and did massage. So the answer is we've seen this work. Mm-hmm. No, she did this for the regular employees. So we've seen this work, but for some reason it gets taken away right over time. And I'm not sure what drives people to take it away. Mm-hmm. I think I do kind of know, but I'm concerned about it.
Oh, Shyla, I know you're getting exhausted here, but I have a comment here which is hilarious by someone who is, of course, that had to happen. Medhu, my friend from the Nutty Libertarians, says, "What if happy puts you in debt?" I saw that coming. I'm sorry, Medhu, no offense, but that kind of simple-minded. I mean, I'm sorry. I think you can do better than that, but I'll throw it to Shyla.
Yeah, I think there's a movie I think it's called Happy. And if we look at it, we see a lot of people in countries that are not wealthy. Mm-hmm. And there's a beautiful poem about Haiti that I like. And there's a line in it that goes something like, when somebody else's recession is an economy somebody else could never dream of.
Yep.
You know, we really have to think sometimes about where we are in America, how blessed, at least in America, because I don't know about the rest of the world. That's where I'm at in America. But I think the answer is happiness is not driven on money. That's what we're finding more and more.
And not on
happiness is driven, right? It's not driven by stuff.
Well, I'm actually reading.
Guess what's driven? It's relationships.
Oh, wait, exactly. It's driven on relationships and really long-term things like that. I'm reading a book right now, The Hacking of the American Mind by Robert Lustig, who also wrote a book on sugar. He's a pediatrician and an endocrinologist, I believe, and he puts that into context with the dopamine versus serotonin. And we don't get enough serotonin, which is the producer for long-term happiness in the biological sense, because we're doping ourselves with dopamine with this short-term stuff, by, whatever it is, a donut or a new piece of consumer good or whatnot.
Gummy flies.
Exactly. So, and by that, we're just in this constant hamster wheel and rat race and completely losing sort of the eye on the ball for the long-term happiness. I'm afraid now that we're going to get booted because Sansor's doing an update. Jesus asked you, Shyla, are there any books, shows, movies, resources that you personally recommend for people, able-bodied people, I'm assuming he's saying, to get a better perspective, understanding on what it is like to be disabled, and breaks down the stigma. So he wants to learn. What should he do?
This is the hard part. I think a lot of us in the disability community have become a bit leery of people who are able-bodied wanting to learn about us and what their intentions are. Take your time. Take it slow.
Is super well intentioned. He really wants to. He really wants.
But again, we're really diverse. Anything. I think over at Virtual Ability, they've got a library full of disabled writers, and I think one of the first things that would open eyes is how many of our famous writers were disabled.
Oh, your eyes are going crazy right now as you're speaking. That was.
Oh, well, that was weird.
I think you were hungry after the flies.
Maybe so. I'm getting all excited.
No, but that question is good in the context of the virtual world, because that's actually a really good thing. Jesus, you can go to Virtual Ability Island. You can hang out with people there. You can go to the library there. They have books about. And
well, I think our Health Info Island has a lot of good resources, and they change them up every month. Mm-hmm. And talk about disabilities, health, different things. Because I think the other thing about ableism is ableism doesn't believe it'll ever happen
to them.
Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, I was part of that crowd. Mm-hmm. Even though I participated in storm chasing and spelunking and things that were I thought, never me. I mean, that happens to other people.
Mm-hmm. Jaden here says, come and get to know us and break down the wall between us and them. Them or us is basically also my favorite Frank Zappa record, but that's getting off a tangent. I'm sorry about that.
No, but I think that's true. I think that's the answer. I think go find the disability community in your community. Get to know them.
And especially in Second Life, there's a huge, again, this virtual ability.
Don't go there to help them.
Right.
Go there to get to know them.
All right, Shyla. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Drax. I want to thank everybody who participated in chat. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, guys. Oops. Oh. Wait.
What?
Oculus told me your controller's battery is low. That's why. Oh, the controller's battery is low. Well, that's not.
No, charge.
Yeah, normally they tell me that a little earlier, but that's cool. No problem. Shyla, I interrupted you.
No, I was just thanking everybody. And, hey, it's the pendulum. It swung a bit one way. Let's keep our voices heard. Let's get the weight on it. Let's get it back to where it needs to be.
Awesome. Thank you, Shyla, and thanks everybody for watching. And sorry, Cody, that we didn't have you in here because, again, we had to lock it down because you're a troublemaker, dude. But you'll come in.
Peace out, everybody.
All right, that was Shyla the Super Gecko, and I should have mentioned the audio. We had some issues with feedback through her headphones. It was a tremendous feat to get this together. As you heard in the interview, we took us many hours to help her get the Vive working on her end with all the cables and the physical state that she's in. It's really not that easy. She had a caregiver over who helped us calibrate the system and make sure that the cables are fine and that Shyla doesn't hit the screen with her controllers. And the audio was just perfect. And then, of course, for showtime, we had... we had feedback coming out, feeding back my voice. So you hear that little annoying echo. I deeply apologize, but such are the circumstances, and you work with what you have. That's it for the show today. Thank you again, sponsors. Thank you, Mile Freschi from Four Bridges Project, and also Vinyl Apparel, female mesh apparel only, no men. And in the background, I already hear violin playing, so I got to get out of here and coach a talented family member and for his violin performance in a couple of weeks. So we'll see you next week. We will have a wonderful show with a super special guest about the virtual Black History Museum. We're going to do this on site and then do an edited version. So there will be a stream. Probably Friday. I don't know what time. It depends on her. But it's Black History Month, and this is the Virtual Black History Museum. An absolutely amazing project. I hope that Joe can make it too. So we'll see you then. Other than that, check the blog for some of the Sansa-related stuff. Thank you so much, and have a fabulous Sunday. Bye.
The Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley is a weekly production of Basic Drax Entertainment. The show is supported by Q Republic, De La Cruz Industries, Journey by Debbie Baskerville, Vista Animations, 01 Heavy Industries Corporation, Eros Avatars, Utilizator Mode, Time Portal, SL Artist, Warbug, Extraordinary Fine Magical Goods, Bay City, You Know for Kids, Maven Homes, Botanical, Strawberry Sing, Aber Animations, Carvel Design, What Next, and Landscapes Unlimited. Featured image by Justin Esparza. Contact the show via Skype, DraxFiles, Avatar DraxFiles, or email drax@draxer.com.